Well, if no one else needs the frequency, I will begin calling the 2 a.m. net soon. KC9UDX net control here. Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 a.m. net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kCs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt. And I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any station wishing to check in, come now, please.
Good evening, Matt. W9JCC.
All right, got one so far. Recognizing Frank, W9JCC. Welcome to the net. Do we have anybody else?
Whiskey Bravo 9, Bravo, Whiskey Papa.
One more. Recognizing Dave, WB9BWP. Welcome to the net. Do we have anybody else?
Kilo Bravo 9, Romeo Zulu Oscar.
All right, there's one we haven't had in a while. Number 4 is KB9RZO Scott. Welcome back to the net. Do we have anybody else? All right, hearing none so far. Here we are at another month. This is our last daylight saving time month for the year. We go back to standard time 2 days before next month's net. And I guess I didn't realize this until today, but the United States Senate passed a bill ending winter time. Basically, we would be on daylight time all year. And unfortunately, it got politicized because a certain ex-president said that he would pass the bill, he would sign the bill if it came up to him. So now the House of Representatives apparently wants nothing to do with it, which is unfortunate. I think that would be a really good thing. In fact, I've been saying that for as long as I can remember, that I wish we would just go on summertime all year round. So maybe that will happen, maybe it will not. We will see next year, I guess. And my Pinebook Pro still not really in service here, so I can't really interact with the live stream in real time. This is one of my gripes about software updates. I've mentioned this many times. You know, old software that works tends to get updated and not work. And the operating system that I use, which is NetBSD, and the web browser which I was using which is Firefox, for some reason I cannot get to work on a fresh installation anymore. So until I can get that working again, I really don't have a good way to use that. But let's go to the top of the list. Frank, it's your turn. W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt. KC9UDX, this is W9JCC, and good evening to everybody else that checked in. Boy, daylight saving time all year round, I'd vote for that. In fact, I'd even vote to get us on Eastern time. I like having it daylight very late in the day, but it is what it is. Yeah, at first I thought you were going to tell us that we were going to be on it, but it sounds like it didn't get through the people over in Washington there. So not a whole lot new to report. They did the usual things here. We're getting ready for winter. We got the rain barrels put away and drained and so forth, and left the garden just the way it was. We just picked whatever we could, and instead of taking it all down, we let it sit until next spring. Yeah, fairly poor showing of the garden this year. I think I planted 12 pepper plants and got about less than half a dozen peppers, so that was not good. I only got about 3 or 4 zucchini out of 2 rounds. Whereas in the past we used to just have more than we could handle. Tomatoes weren't too bad, but onions didn't get very big. I think it was partly drought and partly I just didn't water them enough. So anyhow, I'll turn it back to Matt. KC9UDX or W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. Yeah, it's funny, you know, I've been telling people this for a long time, too. Whenever this subject about daylight time comes up, I always say it sure would be nice if we would just have everybody on the same time zone. You know, we could all be UTC. I think it would solve a lot of the world's problems. And half the people I say that to look at me like I'm from Mars, and the other half of them say, well, how would anybody know when lunchtime is? Because it won't be noon. Anyway, my wife has an extensive garden, and unfortunately I am not real up on that. I don't know for sure. I think she had pretty good yield this year, but I don't really know. When I am here, I am usually very busy for the short time that I'm here before I go back to work, so I don't get too involved with those kind of things. I have the water turned off to the garden. I do not have the rest of the outside water turned off yet. I think I've got everything. Well, I've got most of the important stuff for winter taken care of. I'd like to replace the roof on my garden shed, but I don't know if that's going to happen yet this year again or not. It's one of those things that keeps getting put off from year to year. And with that, we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from from KC9UDX.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I missed the last month. I didn't have a radio, and that's back now. I have a TS2000 here, and Frank's got one too, I think. And there's a place up in Green Bay that does work on older Kenwoods, and they have like a special price thing where they'll replace all the daylights with LEDs, and they'll go through and realign the receiver and clean everything up, get it up to snuff and stuff for a pretty reasonable flat fee. So my wife was anxious to go somewhere, so I said, well, there's this, okay, we'll go and we can drop it off. So anyway, they had it for about 2.5 weeks or so, and then we went and picked it up. Certainly saved on shipping costs. Anyway, it looks like it works. I'm talking on it now. And I'm using one ear to listen to the rookie net that we have going on. The club started earlier in the year. And I ran it for a bunch, and then we got actually 2 of the new guys are taking turns at net control, so I just stay in the background now, and that's always good. every Tuesday. Because there is no open time slot really anywhere. One of the guys created a list of VHF and UHF nets for southeastern Wisconsin, and it's 2 pages. So if you want to do nets 7 days a week from 7 until 10, you probably can. Anyway, yeah, the time thing's always fascinating me. It's like, I didn't know we could legislate time. But, even politicians can figure out stuff like that. And it certainly gets confusing about going forwards and backwards and everything else. And it's like, well, okay, what's the point nowadays? I know the theory behind the original, but I don't know that makes any difference today. There might be moments. There's no timer there, but the radio still has one at night. Don't bother going in there and turning it off. Anyway, other than that, yeah, we had a few pepper plants, and we got very little out of them. We had a bunch of tomatoes this year. But that's all cleaned up. We tear everything out, and actually the last few years we even cover it up because we found that saves a whole lot of time in spring getting all the weeds out of there. Anyway, but that doesn't stop me from going out and still going with the permanently experimental antenna. I was going to go out today, but I was late, and I guess it was good because I was a little bit late. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I gotta try shooting some stuff up through the trees too. Anyway, that I didn't finish in the spring as leaves work their way out, which isn't happening a lot here. So I may be out there in the cold doing that. Who knows? Anyway, there's a lot of dabbling here, so I'll send it back to that. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And I suspect your transmitter is unhappy about something. I would say probably 10 or 15 seconds into your first transmission, your power level dropped sharply. And then the second time you keyed up, it was almost instantly. So there must be a high SWR condition or something. But it's not terrible. It's still copyable. And I guess I have pretty strong political views. I don't appreciate most of what any politician does. And it's what I always say is that the politicians have to do something. That's how they can legislate time. And they can even square the circle. That's something that I would like to think that if people wanted to agree on different ways of keeping time, we could probably all agree on it, but then again, maybe not, I don't know. But there must be a better solution than this half the people believe it should be one way and half the people believe it should be the other way thing. And I was going to comment on something else here now. Excuse me, I forgot what it was. I apologize. But we'll move on. We'll go to Scott, KB9RZO from KC9UDX.
Yeah, okay, real good. Thank you, and good evening to the net. I did see a posting today about the 2 a.m. net, and I thought, well, let's give it a shot. So here I am. I haven't had this radio off of one frequency in a long, long time, so I have to sit back and remember how the heck to work the radio again, which is going to change. I'm going to use this a little bit more often. So, I really like the radio. It's a TF2000, and yeah, it's a really fun radio. So I need to play with it a little bit more. But anyways, I got nothing much. I just thought I'd stop by and say good evening. So we'll turn it back to net control. KB9RZO.
Thank you, Scott. And I can certainly relate. This radio here has not moved from this frequency in probably 5 years, which is a problem, because if I ever need to move, I cannot, well, I can sort of manipulate the receiver frequency, but not very well. I need to get some rosin. I need to open the thing up, put some rosin on the dial cord. I've got another radio in a vehicle that needs the same treatment. Some days I can get that needle to move across the dial, and other days I can't. And we're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please.
KC9UDX. This is N9CXK. November 9, Charlie X-Ray Kilo. It's Carol in East Troy. Sorry I'm late.
Recognizing Carol N9CXK, better late than never. Do we have anybody else? Well, hearing none, I will turn it over to you, Carol. Welcome to the net. N9CXK from KC9UDX.
Very good. KC9UDX and the net, N9CXK. Yeah, sorry I'm a little bit late there. We just drove in late this afternoon from our, we were gone about 5 days, I think. We had a wedding to go to last Friday up in New Richmond, northwest part of the state. And then we took a little vacation and just kind of bopped around up there, decided where to stay and what to do each day, and it was kind of fun. The weather was beautiful. Firstly, the wedding was beautiful, and we were so glad we were invited. It was really nice. And let's see, what did we do? We looked around the area up there, and I said, hey, there's a train ride right here, and I was able to get on the train. It was Osceola, New Richmond train. I don't know. Kind of like the trolley museum down here. Although I think the trolley museum does a little better job. This place, you got on the train and you rode down the tracks like 5 miles, and then they stopped the train, and then they started the train up and you went back 5 miles. So you didn't really go anywhere. You didn't get anywhere. You couldn't get off the train, but they had the baggage car had snacks in it, and they had a post office car and several different kinds of passenger cars and a dining car that, well, they had tables in there anyways. So it was kind of fun, and you could walk up and down the whole length of the train while it was running. So it was really kind of fun. I love trains, and it was just happened to be right there where we were, so that was nice. And we went down the Mississippi for a couple of days after that, and then we were in Prairie du Chien last night, and we went from there to Mineral Point today. We had a really nice lunch in Mineral Point, and then came home. So, yeah, we were, wherever we were this morning, I can't remember, I guess it was in Prairie du Chien. All of a sudden the wind changed and started to mist and rain, and I thought that was it, but it looks like it's still the same temperature outside, so I guess that front probably hasn't gone through. They were talking about a little more weather tonight. And as far as radio stuff, well, I put my nicest police scanner in the car, put the GPS on the dash, and it worked like a charm. It changed frequencies in the scanner all the way as we were driving around, went from county to county to state police, and yeah, it was keeping up with us wherever we were. It was real interesting. So that was a lot of fun. KC9UDX and 9CXK, over.
All right, thank you, Carol. That does sound like a lot of fun. And Mineral Point is probably a pretty good place to go for lunch. A lot of nice little restaurants there. Although I don't know, I haven't been there since all the COVID stuff shut everything down. So maybe not anymore, I don't know. I have a scanner here somewhere, a pretty fancy digital scanner. I thought I had it set up in here, but I guess not. I forget what I used to use it for. But I guess if I ever wanted to use it again, I have to find it. It's in a box here somewhere, probably. Excuse me. I have not been on that train in that area. The only two trains I've been on like that in recent history is the one in Elkhorn and one in Kentucky, southern Kentucky, which was pretty similar to the one in Elkhorn. There was a definite destination, although I think the one in Elkhorn has the better destination. I think going to the Elegant Farmer is more fun than going to the end of the line and getting out and walking around. And it is kind of scenic, but still you're just kind of walking around. Otherwise, it was very similar, except that there's an obvious southern flair to it, I guess you would say. The conductor really dresses the part of a train conductor, I'll put it that way. And otherwise, I think it was about the same length, same time. Pretty similar otherwise. Of course, I got to ride on some of the light rail that was around here back when it was still in operation originally, but I don't. I only have second-hand memories of that now, and I don't remember it anymore as much as I remember remembering it. And that brings us to the bottom of the list again. Let's see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none. Carol, I will also mention I did actually manage to go to that antique flea market, and I do thank you for bringing that up. That was very good, and I plan to go to the first one that happens next year if I can. And I will bring something for hauling things. I haven't been to a genuine flea market like that in a very, very long time. And one thing that strikes me is the fact that prices are obviously eBay influenced. I think people have inflated ideas about what their things are worth now. Maybe I'm wrong and maybe it's just inflation, but it seems to me like things are just the kind of prices people list things for on eBay, not necessarily what they sell them for. So, but it was a lot of interesting things there. It was a very good time. The day that it was this time, 25th, I guess it was, we had some rain. We arrived after the rain had stopped, but a little while after we got there, the wind picked up. Somebody had a very large canopy. It was probably 6 feet wide by probably 18 feet long, and they didn't have it anchored in any way, and the wind picked that thing up and it went tumbling. And it knocked over a lot of probably expensive stuff. That was a little interesting. And otherwise, the only other things I had plans to talk about, I think I covered, other than power outages. I wonder what you guys think of this. This year we've had more random power outages than the entire time that I've lived here. 20 years worth of power outages in 1 year. And I'm not sure what the exact cause of that is. I don't know if the electric grid is being strained by people charging larger things now, like I kind of anticipated would happen. I don't know if that's happening yet or not, or if they're just getting bad at maintenance, or what's going on. But I'll ask one more time if we have any more check-ins. Anybody wishing to check in, come now, please.
November 9, Foxtrot, Sierra, Echo, in FM. I have to make it to dinner, so I'm just going to be in and out. Good to hear the net out here, though. Keep up the good work, everyone. Thanks for having it going on, and I'm out here in Waukesha, heading back to West Dallas, and then back home into Milwaukee. Hope to catch everyone longer next month. NIFSE Mobile FM.
All right, thank you, Steve. Recognizing N9FSE. And believe it or not, I intentionally asked for check-ins once more time thinking you would check in, so there you are. And if you hadn't said you were on FM, I don't think I would have known. But I could tell you were mobile. But thank you for checking in, and we will look forward to having you here next month. And with that, we will go back to the top of the list. And Frank, W9JCC, it's your turn again from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt, and hello to Steve there. Good to hear him. And, Dave, I saw the same thing here that Matt did. You came back with a good signal over the last transmission, and you weren't in it too long, and all of a sudden, within a matter of 10 seconds or so, you faded down into about S1 from S9. So hopefully you got that taken care of there. Hope it's something simple. And fine on the vacation there, Carol. Sounds like a good time. Yeah, that train down there by, I think it was down by Oregon Farmer. We took our kids there when we first moved here. I think it was still around there. And then we ended up taking their kids, their grandkids there on that ride. Kind of a neat little thing. I think the kids really enjoyed that. And as far as the power outages go, we haven't had any power outages, but we had a power surge, which resulted in an outage that lasted probably a couple hours here a while back, but did a lot of damage. Lost my washing machine and actually took out the power supply for one of my rigs. Although some of that got fixed already. But I ended up spending a small fortune on surge protectors. I got them all over the place. And I was really lucky I had a real big one on the main rig here. So I didn't lose my Yaesu, or I'm surprised the amplifier survived because it didn't have a surge on it. So anyway, don't have too much more. I'll turn it back to Matt. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And you reminded me here, I have not ridden that train in Elkhorn this year. Usually do that at least once or twice a year. I've been doing that for a very long time and have not gone this year. Have to do that before the season is over, I guess. And I guess my amateur radio gear is the last thing I get concerned about for power surges. That's one advantage of having all this old equipment. It doesn't it doesn't care too much. It would have to be a pretty significant surge to cause a problem. And even then, I think most of this stuff would have to be powered on to be a problem. But sorry to hear you had an issue with that. I have not noticed anything like that this year, but I guess I've lost track how many times the power has gone out. And I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but numerous times, 3 or 4 times that it happened, the cable service went out at the same time, and there was a police incident in the area, which was a little fishy. I don't imagine how the electric grid and the cable is in any way related in a very small area, but that's what was happening. So Now I lost my train of thought here. But I'm sure there's something else I was going to say. We'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. I'm watching the meter closely, and I see it move from where I started. This is the first time since I had the radio back that I've done anything other than some FM stuff. So perhaps I better look and see how my settings are. Let's see, I'm watching the watt meter here. It started up probably close to 20, and now it appears to be down around 5. And it's bouncing a little bit too. So anyway, I guess that's one way to keep me from talking too much. Stand by just a moment and let's see if it does it again. And, okay, yep, and there it was. Okay. Like I said, I guess I better go and check the settings and things. Maybe something is still coming out, so I guess that's okay. The antenna seems to be all right. At least SWR is still reading like it should. So, like I said, I'll have to take a peek and see how any of the settings are. I know it's too easy. But, to answer a couple of the things there, with the power outage, we used to have, when we first moved here, we lost power 3-4 times a year for more than just a couple of minutes at a time. That got better over the years. But there would still be 1 or 2 in the year that caused problems, let's say. And after one a few years ago, where we were without power for 6 hours, and it was after, not during, we never lose power during the storm. After some substantial rain, so I couldn't keep up with the sump pump. Well, that made a mess. We put on a full house generator, and so now it's like, okay, go ahead. And that last one was particularly irritating, I guess, because it was due to a tree right next door to us here, and we had actually called about that tree and said, hey, maybe you guys can check this out, because that tree looks like it's getting in the way of things. And a guy came out on Monday and said, don't worry about that, there's no problem there. And on Friday, some wind and the power was up. And I happened to have an opportunity to see a map one time that covered electric distribution and cable and stuff, and it explained to me what I've seen over the years. Our house and one house next door are at the end of a long run. Everyone else around us is going off in a different direction. So quite frequently we could be without power, and pretty much nobody else was. Anyway, we got the generator, and it wasn't cheap, but I think it paid for itself since then. With that, this is WB9BWP. Send it back.
All right, thank you, Dave. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm near the beginning of the line here. I am where the end of the line was 50 years ago, but it's not the end anymore. And like I say, in 20 years, I've never had the power go out for more than a few minutes, after a storm or something at all, except for one incident with the, like you said, with a tree. The tree in my front yard took out the underground cable, so I was out for a couple hours while they set up a portable generator to power my house in the meantime while they worked on it. It was actually down for a couple days, but I was only out of power for a couple hours that time. But this year, it's I don't think it's been any time near a storm when it has happened. Maybe a couple times it was, but it's, like I say, it's happened so many times this year I've completely lost track. And every time it happens, it's a pretty large area, but not big enough. Guess I don't know how to describe that, but it's not just me and my neighbor, and it's not like the whole village or the whole city or anything. So, but the thing is, I got a generator too, and I worry about it working or not working, and I worry about what everything in the house is, which breakers everything in the house is on, because I wouldn't want to turn everything on if I would run the generator. I've never gotten around to trying that out, other than just running the generator to make sure that it works. Because all the times we had these power outages this year, it happened in the summer, and there's no real reason for me to run the generator in the summer, other than just to have proven that it works. And I guess I'll save it for winter. So I'll be scrambling to make it work, I guess, when I finally do need it. And I was ready to say that maybe you're running a higher power than normal, but I misread my notes, and your signal here is not higher than normal. It's pretty much right on par with what it usually is, so that is not the case. So hopefully you find something simple for that. Otherwise, like you said, it still does work. And next we'll go to Scott, KB9RZO from KC9UDX.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I heard a couple syllables from him, and poof, he was gone. So, anyways, I'm going to make this my last one. I'm going to get things rocking and rolling for tomorrow morning. Try to get to sleep a little earlier tonight. I'll try to stop in next month. Hopefully I'll have a little more time. But for now, I'll say 7-3, and we'll hear you again soon, I hope. Everybody have a great rest of the week. 7-3 from KB9RZO.
All right, thank you, Scott. We'll say 7-3 to you. Thank you for stopping in here. This is the one night of a month, one night of every month that I actually have time to do this. Every other night, pretty much, I am going to work or preparing to go to work. And as always, I should probably bring this up at the beginning of every net, but we are live on YouTube, so if there's anything you miss on the air, you can maybe tune in on YouTube. Channel KC9UDX should be the only recent thing on there. But I think we have a lot of lag tonight here too. It appears to be about 10 seconds of lag, maybe 10 or 11, which is more than normal. So that might not be too helpful tonight. And with that, next we'll go to Carol N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and the net N9CXK. Very good. Yeah, I would guess you're right that Dave probably, well, I mean, he looked at it, he didn't have an SWR problem, but it seems like the transmitter is just kicking back. It sounds fine, sounds the same, but yeah, Dave, you go from about an S9 here to an S5, so that would account for that power drop. Probably something simple. I'm sure you didn't have trouble with that before, so they didn't really work on that part of the radio, I'm sure. Matt, I'm glad you got to the flea market. Oh, it was good. Flea market was good. I think we got up, it was raining, we waited, we went late for us, And I got soaked going in. I dropped the girls off. They ran into one of the buildings, and then I waited for them to park me. And I got soaked going in, and then it kind of stopped raining. And we were there for quite a while, several hours, in and out. In and out of the rain. But we had a great time, yeah. Found a lot of neat little things and hauled a lot of stuff home. And it was a good day, yeah. And they don't, the good thing about that flea market is they don't let people in selling junk, you know. It's antiques, a few collectibles, and then just a few vendors that have fruit and vegetables, and that's it. They don't, they screen that pretty tightly too. And it's not like this flea market in McWanago has turned into just a junky 7-mile fair kind of thing, and I think we're not even going to go there anymore. My daughter's favorite guy that sells coins isn't going to go to McWanago anymore. It's too expensive for what he was making there, and he hits a lot of other shows, so he's not going to be there. I don't think there's any reason for us to go to the McWanago thing anymore. It's not really worth the time. And now see the East Troy Trolley is just down the road from me. It's about 3 miles down the road from me. And as you would have it, I actually worked at the Elegant Farmer for several years there when I was in high school and college. So I don't race back there at all. We'll stop in there and get some milk in an emergency, or maybe buy one of the nice pies, or stop and get a gift for somebody there maybe. But that's about it. We rarely go there. But that is where I met my wife. We were both working at the Elegant Farmer, so that was 41 years ago, and that's one reason that it holds a place in our heart, although the people that owned it and the people that worked there are all gone, just like us, but still, it's a little sentimental. At East Troy, though, you can take the train from the Trolley Museum at the Elegant Farmer down to East Troy, and then you get off and you walk around and you can go to the little ice cream shop or the museum. There's a museum there, and so that's kind of nice. And then, the Elegant Farmer is always a good place to pick something up. The deli isn't quite like it was when we were there. It's nicer now. They have some pretty nice things in there, but I think there's very few pieces of. We used to sell a lot of stuff that was grown there, but I don't think that's the case anymore. Most of it's trucked in. So I saw my radio was flashing. It didn't say anything, but I think I had stopped transmitting. So anyways, I'm glad to be home. Glad to see all my stuff here in one piece. And happy that all my antennas are still in the air. And I too have I have a wire antenna to string up yet, but that's just dropping the end of the antenna and hooking up the new one and hauling it up, and I should be okay there. It's an end-fed. I'm not really familiar with actually using those, but pretty simple installation here, and it'll get me on some more bands before winter. So that'll be good. And I did hear Steve in the car. I said, "What is that noise? What is that noise?" And I tuned around a little bit. Then I detected him on FM, just a little below our frequency here. So then it kind of made sense, because I'm remembering a few nets ago when we had other guys on this frequency somewhere far away, and we never did figure out who they were. So I thought maybe it was something like that, but that was Steve in the car. That was great. And it's good to hear Scott on here too. Always nice to have another person in there. So I think that does it for me. And I don't have much else to say either. I can wrap it up now too if y'all guys all want to do that. N9CXK, over.
All right, thank you, Carol. Well, you are at the bottom of the list, so we'll see what everybody says here. Yeah, we've had quite a few people come and go over the years here on the net. You know, I gotta do some digging because next year is probably the 10th anniversary of this net, and I got to figure out exactly what month and what day that was. But we had a large group of people at the beginning, which gradually turned into a completely different group of people, which turned into a completely different group of people, and then we had nobody for a while. And then Frank showed up, and Frank has been here almost every month ever since then. And Dave is usually here too, and Scott was here for repeatedly for a while. Steve has been, I'd say, been here more often than not. But I guess I could go back through the logs, figure out when it was this all got started. It was in 2013. I'll say that, but I don't. At least I'm pretty sure it was. But I guess I'll have to go back and look. Anyway, you know, 41 years ago, I went to the Elegant Farmer a lot more than I do today. I probably go 2 or 3 times a year now. But 41 years ago, there's a very good chance that I ran into you there and didn't realize it. Of course, how would I know? And yeah, we've rode the train in both directions. Obviously, you always go both ways, but we've started out both places, but we usually start out in East Troy, just because it seems more natural starting out at the train station. Although you do, usually when we get off the train, we're going home. We're not walking around downtown East Troy there, but we have done that. And we're at the bottom of the list. Let's see if we have any further check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please. All right, hearing none, we will go back to the top of the list, and we'll see how far this goes. W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, thank you, Matt. KC9UDX, W9JCC. And I got an email from Dick in 9EE here about a week ago with some announcements that he was asking people to make on the nets, and I forgot to bring it down here, and I even forgot what they were about. So I don't know, maybe Dave remembers. I think Dave was on the list as well. But anyway, when Steve came on, I could make him out, but I was not able to change the frequency because I got a lot of memory channel, and the dial just twirled around and nothing happened. So I could, after I got my ears tuned to him, I could tell what he was saying, but at the beginning it was almost unintelligible. And yeah, what train? I'm guessing that train is still running. If somebody knows the schedule, and it must have a summer schedule there. Be curious to know when it does run. I don't have too much more. Pretty low-key events here since the last time we talked, so I'll turn it back to Nat, KC9UDX, W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And yeah, I didn't have too much exciting to bring up this month. I guess my radio just happens to be tuned in the right spot, or excuse me, or my receive bandwidth is so wide that I could not even tell Steve was transmitting in FM. He was crystal clear here. Well, as clear as he normally is, so, or as clear as I could expect. And you know, that's something I've always wanted to kind of play around with on this radio. The receive bandwidth is just enormous. I can hear people transmitting on nearby frequencies. That's one of the nice things about being where we are in the band, is that there isn't too much of that. I have what is the word I'm looking for here? Q multiplier. I have a Q multiplier that should work with this radio. I don't know that anybody has ever used that, with one of these, but someday I would like to try that. I don't know if I'll ever get around to it. And I do think the train in East Troy is still running. I think they run through November, but I'm not positive. And frankly, I don't know what might have changed since COVID either. I guess everything seems to have changed. So we'll probably just do a 7-3 round after this round. And Dave, I don't know if this helps. Probably not. The other guys probably have better information. But when you start transmitting, you are a 6 1/4 on my meter, just like normal. And when it drops straight down to a solid 4. So, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Very good. After the net, I'll start with a reset on the radio and start fresh. That way you can see there's nothing twisted up there. That's probably the biggest difference between your radios there, Matt, and the newer stuff. Just like anything else now. Or just reboot it, maybe that'll take care of it. I used to know a guy that he did volunteer work on that train down in East Troy. He passed a number of years ago, so I lost touch of what was going on down there. But I know he used to run it, I think, too, even. Let's see. Yeah, I can do announcements that Frank was talking about. The biggest things are MRAC meeting Saturday at 10 a.m. When they decided to do Saturdays and daytime, there's a lot of advantages to that, but the disadvantages are it gets in the way of stuff, and in this case, it even gets in the way of stuff the club is doing, because Saturday is also Scout Jamboree on the air, and the club, a number of the guys are down at Boy Scout Camp in Burlington, Camp Oktober. And there's also some of the Ozaki guys are doing one up near Moraine. I can't remember exactly where that is. But anyway, that's going on Saturday. The Joda stuff is all day. And then next weekend, not this Saturday, whatever the date is next Saturday, the 22nd and 23rd, Saturday and Sunday, is Maker Fair, which was going to be back at Maker Park this year, but then the group that runs these things seems a little confused all the time. About 2 weeks ago, they said, oh no, we're not going to do Maker Park, we're going to be down in Discovery World, which, if you're bringing antennas and things like that, kind of changes the whole setup. So anyway, but that's next weekend is Maker Fair, Saturday, Sunday. And the club will have a table of some sort. Okay, that's the timer on the radio. The club will have a table or whatever down there. Back around, I can't remember the exact year, I'd have to look it up, 2017, I think. When it was at Maker Park, we actually won a blue ribbon. It says Maker of Merit. I happened to be standing at we had a number of tables actually, kind of a U shape. I happened to be standing at front table, and the guy comes over and he hands me this ribbon. He said, "Here, you guys won this." And I looked at it, I go, "Oh, okay. Why? What did we do?" And he said, "I don't know. They just told me to come over here and give it to you guys." So, but anyway, we say, look, we won something. Don't know why, but nonetheless. And funny, you mentioned a Q multiplier because was it last week or maybe the week before on the rookie net that I spoke of? Somebody asked that question: what is Q? And that brought up a discussion for quite a while. And what I did, I happened to have some PDF files of old e-kits, and I thought they made a Q meter, and sure enough, I found a 1966 e-kit catalog. They had a Q meter in it, and it sold for $56 in 1966. Anyway, with that, this is WB9BWP. Back to next.
All right, thank you, Dave. I too I came very close to volunteering at the railroad in East Troy at one point. These days, that's just not possible. Would have been fun to do, though. And it's interesting. For a while with my work schedule, these Saturday mornings could have worked, but I still never managed to make a club meeting. Now Saturday mornings pretty much do not work. on Saturdays that I am not working that I could go, I really don't want to be driving all the way up there like I do every other day. But I don't know. I did make it to one club meeting. I don't remember how many years ago now. So maybe one of these days I'll make it to another one. I think I belong to 5 clubs that I never attend meetings at. And the one I would really like to go to one of these days is the Milwaukee Accordion Club. And it just never works out that I can go on the day when there's a meeting. Excuse me. Anyway, next we'll go to Carol N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and the net N9CXK. Very good. Well, yeah, the trolley should be running. Trolley will be running at least through October into November. Yeah, they have various special days. I don't know if they really do something for Halloween. They may do something for Thanksgiving. I think they still even have some of the eating dinner rides out here scattered around until the end of the season. And then they will deliver Santa Claus to East Troy around I think the 5th or so of December. I think it's early like that. They'll put Santa on the train and ride him into the depot in the East Troy, and then we put him on the fire truck and take him up to the square. So they keep things running, and they really do take care of the equipment there. There's a lot of cars, a lot of them that are just in beautiful condition, and others that they've restored mechanically, and they wait for a while to get restored physically, but mechanically, yeah, everything works good. And they built that huge new car facility at the north end by the Elegant Farmer. So it's a large, beautiful building for working on cars in there. So I think that's helped them a lot. And they've been out working on the trolley lines pretty often lately here in the last few weeks. I've seen them out there on aerial platforms working on the wires. So I guess they're probably replacing insulators and making sure wires are tied where they're supposed to. So they're pretty active. Yeah, I always kind of wanted to volunteer with them. Maybe I will one of these days. Between the fire department and work, I really haven't had a lot of time to be doing that stuff. But I did come up with some parts for them when they took Lakeside Power Plant apart. There were some light bulbs and things that I dropped off over there for them. They were locomotive light bulbs that were on some of the engines that they used for switching things around that Lakeside Power Plant down there. So that was kind of fun. And I'm a bit of a trolley buff, and I have a lot of reading materials and things about the trolleys and trains now. So more of a casual buff, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Try to keep my hands on all of it. And I can't say that I've had a power outage here. Man, we had one outage, and I used my generator that we set up everything real nice on the house here for last fall. I guess we had one outage. It was several hours, but we put a generator panel in the house, a generator cutover panel, and a big fat outlet on the outside of the house, so I can just take any portable generator and plug it in there and run a set of, I think there's 6 circuits in the house that I can cut over, and then we can run them. And it's all the important stuff, the furnaces and the sump pump, and I don't know. I don't remember what it all is, but it took care of us just fine, and that's all I really need. And the company line is boy, I must talk a lot. The timeout timer appeared to be flashing again here. So company line is that there's really no bad outages. So since we've upgraded the lines all over, went to higher voltage up to your transformers, there are more outages because the relaying is much more sensitive. Used to be that the 8,000 volts, that would just sit on the tree branches until they burned off. Now, it senses it and dumps the line out, and it can be more of a problem than it used to be. It used to be you'd get those brownouts and flashes and things, but eventually the branches would burn off and then you'd be clear again, but that doesn't really happen anymore. So the tree trimmers are all out there, but I don't think there are nearly as many as there were. We hire all of that out. We don't even have any forestry crews anymore. So it's all hired out, and they just trim and trim and trim down one line, then they start on the next one and the next one. But I don't think it's as much of a mass effort as it used to be, and that probably hurts us a little bit. Most of these outages they come across my pager or my phone now as vegetation, and we have equipment failures scattered in there, but not nearly as many as there used to be. We've really upgraded everything, so I think what you get is what you get. When it's in the city, though, and it's tight quarters, the trees usually are knocking stuff out. It's pretty much just what it is. Except for lightning. Lightning will take out your underground service about 2 weeks after it gets struck. It pops pinholes in all the underground cables, and then they eventually corrode and open up. So, yeah, after lightning, it's a couple of weeks, and then you have trouble. And there you go. N9CXK.
All right, thank you, Carol. It's very interesting stuff. I'm not much of a train buff. I'm not much of a trolley buff, but I guess I appreciate the older stuff. Excuse me. And I can appreciate a ride on some of those older cars. And I guess I'm starting to fall asleep here. But the only other thing I was going to say is don't worry about talking a long time, because your timeout timer only goes off once, and that's not a long time. And in any case, we're on AM. We're allowed to talk a long time. It's encouraged. So let's see. Let's go to the top of the list. We'll call this the 7-3 round. W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay, KC9UDX, W9JCC. Yeah, I suppose we could talk about trolleys and trains a lot. I can remember riding the Kenosha electric trolleys around the city down there, and the electrical connection was made up on top. They had a spring-loaded runners that ran on the wires, and every once in a while one of those things would come off, and the guy would come out with a long stick and put it back on. And interesting stuff there, Carol, on the underground cables. I did not realize that. It's something that I learned tonight. Yeah, we have underground cable here, and we haven't had problems, I don't think, with it, but it's good to know that if you get a close strike, you can get at the cables underneath. Anyway, not too much more. Thanks for reading the net there, Matt. And we'll say 73s to everybody. Everybody have a great rest of the week, and back to net. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. We'll say 7-3 to you. And next we'll go to Dave. WB9BWP, it's your turn on the 7-3 round.
Okay, 73 to everyone that wandered by here this evening. It took a little longer that time for the power to drop. And yeah, I forgot to say that I heard Steve too. I didn't touch anything on the radio, and at first it's like, what's that noise in there? And then I started to make out his voice. It's like, oh, okay. Anyway, 73 to everyone, and yes, it's good that you keep this going, Matt, and yeah, we got to publicize the anniversary when that comes up. Maybe we can set a record for check-ins or something that night. Anyway, with that, and then after the net here, I'll flush the radio and we'll see what happens. This is WB9 EWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. For whatever reason, your power went back up and then back down again that time. You know, who would have ever guessed back when we first started talking about this stuff that it would be going for 10 years? I sure didn't. But I did remember, I remember what I was going to say before that I forgot. You commented that, you know, you have to reboot a modern radio, and this one, you know, it wouldn't affect it. There's something else about these old radios that is interesting. These GON sets specifically. I don't know of any other gear that will do this. The output on these GON sets is invincible. You can short the output. You can leave it open. You can transmit a high power, you know, with nothing connected. You can do whatever you want, and it just doesn't care. It just keeps right on working. I don't exactly know why that is, but I can say with a fact that the communicator series 1, 2, 3, and 4 will all do that. So I don't worry too much about SWR, but that's what I forgot before. Next we'll go to Carol, N9CXK. It's your turn on the 7-3 round.
My turn already? Wow. Gotta clear my head here. Yeah, I'm getting a little tired too. Lots of driving the last few days. Yes, the underground cables. That is generally speaking the underground services to the houses and businesses and things. The lightning will hit a pole where the riser is for that cable, where the cable leaves the ground and goes up to attach to the overhead. And lightning goes down, and then it pops out in all kinds of places once it gets into the ground, because it's trying to get to ground as quickly as possible. And it'll make lots of pinholes in those cables, and then water gets in, and then generally the aluminum wire inside will just start to oxidize and deposit out of the cable. Pretty soon you have a big mass, a big blob of aluminum oxide and stuff that doesn't really conduct anymore. So, and on the higher voltage cables, if lightning gets into one of those, usually they'll go out pretty quick. But that doesn't usually happen. They have lightning protection typically, but your service to your house, that takes a beating. I mean, I did that for about 6-7 years. We did the fault locating on the underground cables. Told the guys I'd make an X on the ground. I said, dig here, and we'd dig up the cable and repair the break, or I'd say, now we're going to throw it away and we'll replace the whole cable here, depending on how bad it was. We actually had equipment where we could find those pinholes. We'd say, oh, there's one here, and after 3 or 4, we'd just say, no, you just replace the whole thing. That's kind of an art too. But that job was kind of fun, except getting called out at 2 and 3 in the morning, which happened a lot. That was okay. And I think I probably was on the trolley bus in Milwaukee a couple of times in my whole life, but I remember those things. The orange and white Milwaukee city bus with the trolleys on top. And man, oh man, I just don't know how they ever maintained those systems in the city where the trolleys are going this way and that way, and they're always trying to keep the two rods up there on the overhead wires, and the wires would cross because you had to turn corners and go down different streets and stuff. Oh my gosh, amazing! Just amazing how anybody figured how all that worked. But there was a long evolution in all that transportation, from electric to gas to diesel to whatever. The old stuff is good. The old stuff is really interesting. And just while we're talking here, I have a lighthouse book, and I'm reading it about, I got rid of all my other lighthouse books, but I kept the one about the Wisconsin lighthouses, and I'm going to read through it before I move it on. But also pretty interesting, because a lot of the lighthouses had radio communications in them. So sometimes they mention it, sometimes they don't. But that's pretty interesting to me. And hang on. As we traveled the Mississippi River, it was pretty obvious we were passing. There were a lot of 50-foot towers along the Mississippi, and I'm sure those were all Coast Guard towers. And then there were even more of those 20-25-foot masts that are up for the railroad that have like the 2 exposed dipoles on them. That's for the train, some of the train location and information on like 220 megs. I think they use 220 megs now. They also have 900 megs, but they've kind of gotten away from that, went back to this lower frequency system on the train lines. So all those different towers were interspersed all the way up and down the Mississippi, because there's a couple of parallel train lines that ran right along the river all the way. So I maybe didn't do as much radio listening, but I did a lot of radio looking. There you go. Everybody have a great rest of your week. I'll look for some of you guys on 10 meters, maybe 2 meters. We'll talk soon. N9CXK 73 all.
All right, thank you, Carol. And I guess I forgot to mention this earlier. To this day, you can go into some of the larger cities where they still have electric trolleys, especially in Europe, where you can see the guy at the front and the guy at the back pulling down the collector off the catenary line. When they go to intersections or when it pops off or whatever. That's still a normal sight in some places. And I wonder if the orange and white on those trolley buses, if that orange was cadmium orange, because everything used to be cadmium orange. and kind of miss those definite colors that everything used to be. Everybody else disagrees, but I guess I always liked that. And I used to work at a place in Brookfield that would get struck by lightning all the time, so I am familiar with the insulation getting perforated on the underground cables. I did get to talk to the guys coming out and doing the locating those bad cables several times, but I never got to actually see it when they dug it up. It would be interesting to see what that insulation actually looks like. Anyway, I think I didn't say 7-3 to Dave. I'm sure you're still listening, Dave, I'll say 7-3 to you, and I'll say 7-3 to you, Carol. And I will say that this concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to reg true on this frequency after my transmission. We will meet again on the 8th of November. Don't forget to alter your clocks on the 6th of November. Until then, this is KC9UDX 73, and good night.
Thanks, Matt. Enjoyed it a lot. And if you remember, all the electric company trucks used to be that, I don't know, I wanted to call it a greeny gold color. That was nugget gold. And I'm sure we paid handsomely to have all those trucks painted nugget gold all those years.
You know, I don't remember that. But maybe if my memory gets jogged, maybe I will remember. I don't remember ever seeing electric company trucks, but I must have seen them.
Oh yeah, everything was painted that nugget gold. It was kind of almost like a camouflage green color. I mean, it's all one color, but it was a camouflagey green gold kind of a color. And then earlier, remember the the gas company trucks, Wisconsin Natural, they were all blue and yellow. And then we used to have what we called the extension system for electric, which was outside of the Milwaukee area. The electric trucks, they were all that dark green color, so you could tell them apart. It was just pretty interesting. I guess, like I said, it must have cost extra. But yeah, everything we had was nugget gold. Oh man. And then once they started going to white, I'm sure they saved a ton of cash there. So, alright, have a good night. Don't work too hard. We'll look for you soon. AC9UDX and 9CXK.
Alright, thank you, Carol. Yeah, I may have missed the green altogether. I may have only got to see the white. I don't know when that changed, but that's all I remember is the white. So maybe that's all I got to see. Anyway, I will try not to work too much, but I probably will anyway. 7-3 from KC9UDX.